So hello everyone, my name is Farhan Yunus. I am part of the Open Silicon Valley. I'm the General Secretary. Very fortunate to have Mashood Alam with us today. This is the fourth session of the five-part series. And thank you so much, all of you who have been joining us for the first three sessions. It's been an amazing journey, wealth of knowledge from one of the very best in the industry. Most of you must have known Mashood by now. So for those who don't, here's a quick introduction. Mashood is an Open Silicon Valley Charter member and a senior business innovation leader with a unique blend of business, technology, and design expertise. Mashood drives co-innovation, digital transformation, innovative thinking, innovation center setup, and out-of-the-box approaches to identify and solving problems by leveraging cutting-edge technologies, including machine learning, Internet of Things, blockchain, computer vision, chatbox, cloud, big data, and mobile and networks. For most of you who don't know, Mashood holds 6 US patents and 2 prestigious global awards. So we're very fortunate to have Mashood with us for the fourth session of the five-part series. And just a reminder to all, one lucky winner will get a personalized copy of Mashood's very own book, which will be announced by the end of next session. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Mashood, and thank you so much for joining.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, everyone. Farhan, can you enable screen sharing for me so that I can share my presentation? Okay, great. All right, everyone, I hope you're able to see my screen. So welcome, everyone. This is, as Farhan said, this is the fourth session. We covered Introduction to Design Thinking in the first one, and then I introduced as well my framework. This is Transform 3+1 framework. On the second session, we focused on how can we understand the problem from user's perspective. In the third session, which was 2 weeks back, we actually figured out how to devise a solution. And now in this session, we are going to then use our idea to craft a business model around it. And then the last session will be next week, where I'll be walking over the last stage, which is manage risk, along with a quick recap of the overall framework. Again, as Farhan mentioned, if you have attended or you're going to attend all the 5 sessions, you will have a chance to win a copy of my book. If you become open member, you will get a signed book as well. And I would also select one of the participants who have been great in terms of their quality participation to receive a book as well. So as some of you who have already attended in the past, this session is very interactive. So Farhan, if you can launch the first poll so that we can understand how many of the folks have attended the previous session, that'll be great. Maybe I can also do it over here, but why don't you do it?
I am, Mashood, actually on my end having a little bit of technical difficulties. Will you be kind enough to launch it on your end?
Okay, I had the option over here. It somehow went away. Let me see. Okay, let me stop sharing. Maybe that will enable it. Okay, polling. Okay, now I can. All right, so you guys should be able to see on your screens a quick poll. I want you to please answer if you have attended all the 3 sessions, if you attended any of the last 2 sessions, if you attended at least 1 session out of the last 3, or if this is the first time for you. So please feel free to spend another 10 seconds and provide your response so that we can get an idea how many folks are attending how many sessions. Okay. Okay, I'll give you like a couple of more seconds. I think some of the folks are still providing response. And if you don't remember whether you attended 2 sessions or 3 sessions, just enter 2 or 3, whatever. It's just to get an idea. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll now, and let me say, share the results. So I hope that you guys will be able to see the results. It's great to see that we have about half of the participants, 11, who have attended all the 3 sessions. So thank you very much. And there are a few who have attended 1 or 2 sessions, and then there are about 1/3 who are attending the session for the first time. So thank you very much for attending today, and it really helps me and get an idea of how should I tailor my slides today. Let me get back to my screen. Let me know if you are unable to see the screen. So Farhan, just if you can just confirm whether you are able to see the screen now.
Yes, we can, Mashud.
Awesome. This is great. So this was the previous session. Let me try to get this video window out of here. It's kind of annoying here. Okay. So as at the end of each session, and I ask all the participants to provide feedback of the session. So this is from the feedback from the previous session, devise solution to determine feasibility. And as you can see, I think the whole stage 2 of the framework, which is this device solution to determine feasibility, is considered extremely important or indispensable. Ideation, a lot of folks really think that ideation is very important. Creating of experience vision also is very, very important. And prototyping, the importance of prototyping cannot be overstated. And then a lot of the folks who attended really appreciated the tools and templates too. I also asked for textual feedback as well. So continuing the trend, it was great that people really loved it. And thank you very much for all your participation that actually made it very successful. On the other hand, I think a lot of suggestions also came in. How can we improve the session? And obviously the focus was on maybe going deeper into 1 or 2 tools and 1 or 2 steps. And I think that's really a challenge. These kind of workshops, they actually span a good 3. If you really want to do this framework, at least you require 2 to 3 months of weekly workshops to actually get the gist of and understand and apply the learning. So yeah, I try to, the goal of these sessions is to give you an overview of the overall framework and not go deeper into specific ones, but I try to share some stories and then I understand it's a little too fast, but yeah, I would encourage you to go deeper into my book afterwards and try to be involved in an innovation team, innovation topic, in design thinking topic to get really your hands dirty. As I mentioned in the first session, you can't really understand design thinking and apply it unless you actually do it with some experts on your side. In the last session, we generated a lot of ideas. And as you can see, we were able to generate 36 ideas for Rahil Bodla, who was kind enough to share his business idea and problem. And then we got like more than 35 or 36 actually ideas in less than 5 minutes. So when we are in a room, as I mentioned, within a span of 20-30 minutes, we are able to generate hundreds of ideas with just a team of 5 or 6. So if you are interested in getting some introductory concepts on some of the techniques of generating ideas, I would encourage you to watch the previous session. But with that, let me just quickly do a recap of where we are today. So if you remember from session 1, this is a quick equation for innovation. It's about creativity times execution. And I talked in the first session about why this is so important, that we have to not just be focusing on problem solving, but also finding the right problem, which yields in breakthrough innovations. The other concept that I explained was the distinction between divergent thinking and convergent thinking. So we all are born creative geniuses. And if we want to continue our creativity go forward, what we need to do is just separate, have a barrier, and have focus on whether you are brainstorming on the problem or brainstorming on the solution. Keep the divergent thinking separate from convergent thinking. What that means is that when you are generating ideas, do not judge them or question them. And when you have tons of ideas, now you're narrowing it down, then look at from the lens of feasibility or viability. A quick recap of the concept of design thinking. Design brings both the form and the function together. And from the thinking side, it brings both creativity as well as business thinking together. So design thinking helps you bring the best of both the worlds. This is a very famous Venn diagram. We focus on desirability first before jumping on feasibility and then viability. So always remember this in mind. Again, the importance of exploring the problem space first is very, very pertinent. So whenever you are presented with any challenge or problem, spend a good bit of time understanding the problem first, narrowing down what problem you're trying to solve. I think that's half of the battle right there, and then actually move into solution area. So I introduced you to the framework, which is a 18-step framework broken down into 4 stages, 3+1. So the first stage is understanding the problem. Second is devising the solution. We covered these 2 in the last couple of sessions. Today, we're going to be focused on crafting the business. In understanding the problem, to quickly summarize, user research is paramount. You have to plan for it. You have to have some techniques in observation. So I would encourage you to rewatch the session number 2 if you want to go deeper into it, and then how to engage with the end user so that they don't feel threatened, but you get the right information out of them. You have to go out and spend time with the user and in the field. If you're trying to solve a problem for somebody in home, you have to go to their home and spend time with them. Spend time with them, be in their shoes. If you are going to solve a problem for a truck driver, for example, you have to spend time with him or her. And then bring those insights into your room where you can interpret what was those findings mean, and then what kind of insights you can derive out of them. The other concept is a lot of times the users, when they are doing that job day in, day out for years, they don't realize the assumptions they are working under. So I think it's very important for you as a researcher to find those assumptions. I shared some of those templates. Feel free to check them out, which will help you in putting a structure to your thoughts. The second phase is essentially device solution, where we talked about last session, which was a couple of weeks back now. So hopefully your memory is still there. So a quick question, as you know, this is an interactive session. So it's not about your idea. What did I tell you 2 weeks back? What is it about? What is the main important thing? So use your chat window and then write down, what do you remember? It's not about your idea. It's about what. Does anyone remember what I mentioned in my last session? So use your chat and then write that down. I'll be interested to see what everybody remembers. All right, let me see over here. Problem you're solving, it's about the user. Well, that's good. About the user's pain point. Great, user experience. Okay, well, I think I'm really glad that a lot of you are in the right direction and pretty much remembered it. So it is not about your idea, it's about user's job to be done. Remember, I showed a 4-minute video from Clay Christensen. So go back and watch again after the session about the milkshake example. It's about the job to be done. What is the job the user wants to do? Okay, and then once you have understood it, and it's time for brainstorming on ideas, what are the 7 rules for ideation that I shared? So again, use the chat window and then write down whatever you remember in terms of what are the different rules that you have to follow to have the best possible ideation session. What are the 7 rules? And does anyone remember any one of the rules? So imagine you are in your team, 5 or 6 people in a room, hopefully after COVID is over, or everybody is vaccinated. Then what are the best ways to generate ideas? Ashok says user journey. That's interesting. Well, I'm talking about the rules. What are the rules that you must follow when you are thinking of generating lots of ideas? And give you a hint, I mean, this was like 7 different cartoonish characters that I mentioned. Don't be critical of ideas, great. Yeah, Mubashir is right. You shouldn't be critical of ideas. Anything else? All right, so, well, I'll continue and then share with you what are the rules. And here's that slide. So go for quantity, encourage wild ideas, defer judgment, stay focused on the topic, build on ideas of each other, one conversation at a time, and be visual. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head. That will be important. I also shared some of the techniques. There are like tens, if not hundreds of techniques of ideation, constraints, introduce constraints, logo battle, and how would a superhero do it. And then once you have generated a lot of ideas and you have prioritized them, create an experience vision using storytelling. I think that's really powerful. And then you prioritize. There are different prioritization techniques. I shared those. I also shared the slide which captures the message from John Danner about failure. A lot of times we try to avoid failure, but as this slide conveys to us, that failure is the natural state of being. So embrace it. And you will also encounter in your endeavor, whatever you're trying to do, a lot of failures. So the best way to avoid failure or embrace failure is to prototype. And prototypes does not have to be fancy, technologically working thing. It could be just a piece of paper and your idea conveyed through pictures or through the flow diagram or anything. The old saying, the picture speaks 1,000 words, still holds true. And again, the idea of prototyping is to get feedback from the user. So you test those ideas, those experience visions, and get feedback from the user. So that's absolutely critical. And then I shared that how you extract use cases out of them and how to start getting an idea of whether your idea will improve the lives of the user or not. Also looking at, especially true in the enterprise context, but in other contexts as well, what are the implications of your future vision experience for the end user? So with that, before I jump into the next session, this was a comment received. Again, Rahil Bodla has been consistent in providing very thoughtful input as well as comments. So he essentially captured all the concepts in the second stage, which is device solution, pretty well in his course. So thank you very much, Rahil. With that, I would want to open the line for Rahil. Rahil, if you're on, let me try to see if I can open it for you. So just give me 1 second. And I want Rahil to share, okay, here it is. So allow to talk. Okay, Rahil, you should be able to talk now. Rahil, are you there?
No.
Hey, Rahil, can you speak?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
So Rahil, what I'll do is I'll give you 2 minutes, and why don't you just give a quick and I'll monitor your slides over here. And Rahil is, as you can see, he's an amazing professional here in the Valley. Great work from MIT, Harvard. Worked at Tesla, and he's a business success coach. So he created 3 experience visions based on the techniques that I shared a couple of weeks back. So Rahil, I would like you to at least select one, and then if you have time, we can select the other one, but probably just select one. So whichever one you want to go through, just walk the participants through, give them the context, and then walk them through the experience vision storyboard. So which one do you want me to open? Small business owner, startup founder, or individual coaching? Tell me which one you want to go through.
I will request small business owner, please.
Okay. All right. So it should be on the screen now. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much. So these sessions are very, very helpful for me. One of the best courses that I had in my life. Just wanted to share to start with.
Oh, you're too nice, Rahil. Thank you.
So this is an experience vision for a small business owner. He's Richard. He's 37-year-old. He based in Silicon Valley. He owns a construction business, and his annual business revenue is 500K. So that's how it goes from scene 1 to 2 all the way to 6. And Richard wants to grow his business. Since the last 2 years, his business has been studied at the similar like 500, 600K level. And he lacks a plan and a strategy how to approach this systematically with business management so he can grow his business. So he comes to know about me. I've been one of the business coach in Mountain View since last 1 year. He comes to know about me from another fellow small business owner, and he reaches out to me. We have a Zoom meeting and to find the fit, whether we have the alignment, and he signs up for the monthly coaching. My business model is a monthly subscription model. So then he starts those engagements. In those weekly meetings, we work on with our mindset and strategies especially in 7 dimensions of business, which is business map, innovation, marketing, sales, operation, finance, and customer success. And he starts implementing. So it's more about hand holding, that we both team up and work together with all visibility in the business. We start measuring. So Richard starts measuring his own actions and results through his CRM, the customer relationship management softwares, and the QuickBooks and the other systems. So the final scene is that he has a revenue. So we have worked together for 12 months or so, because it's more like a long-term strategic relationship to get the return on investment. And he has a revenue of $1 million. He has more time to spend with his family because the business is more automated. There are people. Previously, he was doing a lot of things himself. Now he has a team of people and systems and technical systems to capacitate to absorb that scalability. And he's happy with the business coaching. By investing less than $1,000 a month, he was able to achieve far greater return in his business based on his personal investment.
Awesome. I think this is great. So just to kind of recap over here. So this is how a future state a story that Raheel has put together. And you can see that how he has incorporated different ideas that he must have come up through. He has his own offerings as well of the 7-stage framework that he has around mindset, around innovation, marketing, and others. But he also talked about different tools in CRM and other tools that and relying on building a team helps that business owner to, and also showcasing some of the ideas on what will be some measurable and even quantifiable as well as non-quantifiable qualitative success metrics. I think it essentially even though business success coaching is quite different than product innovation and others, so it becomes a little challenging, but you can see that if you have an idea of a product or a solution, if you just put yourself into the future framework of your end user and then paint that experience vision from that perspective, you will start getting a lot of ideas. Now, one more thing that I want to highlight is in this experience vision, Raheel is making a lot of assumptions as well. And I think that's one of the things that I also share with you guys to keep track of all the assumptions. So with that, thank you very much, Raheel. So just mute yourself for now. I think we'll give you, we'll speak at the end. So now with that recap, I know that we are only halfway through, but hopefully the next 30 minutes, I will try to cover the 3rd stage, which is viability or crafting a business. And before we do that, I want to just bring the concept of jobs to be done, or what kind of job the user wants to do. So I want to introduce you to a concept of job. Anything that the user wants to do a job is actually implicitly or explicitly aspiring towards achieving a goal or fulfilling a vision. So let me give you one example. So imagine if you are coming up with an idea of a service to pick and drop kids from and to school, right? So maybe you are part of Uber's product management team, or you're just creating a new service yourself, peer-to-peer, or just from your own, hiring some van and stuff like that. But you want to provide that. So the job that you are helping the parents do is pick and drop the kids to school. The kid's goal is provide child-safe, reliable, and trustworthy service, right? But what is the vision that they are trying to do? They want intellectual and psychological well-being and freedom to focus on their own work, right? So if they want intellectual and psychological well-being for their children, now imagine As you go from bottom to top, the scope, the way you frame the problem might end up generating a lot of other ideas that will help the parents to provide intellectual and psychological well-being for their kids. So think about it. Whenever you think about what job you are trying to help the user do, what is the goal that they have in mind, or they may not be able to articulate, but you should be able to deduce with your user research. And then what is the vision for them? That will also help you later on. Today I'm going to be sharing how the value proposition actually is crafted, because value proposition, if it's crafted very narrowly, may not have that emotional impact. If you are crafting it more on the goal side and the vision side, then it's much more impactful. And as you can see on the right side, I mentioned, as you go down towards the job, it's more tactical, it's more tangible, it's more quantitative. But as you go towards goal and vision, it's more aspirational and qualitative. When you want to touch somebody, you have to touch their aspiration and qualitative aspects rather than quantitative, which is good to have. But that's where you will provide the solution, but it will be enabling that vision. So always keep that in mind. So what I have termed that, all this concept of finishing a job, accomplishing a goal, or realizing a vision as hit the target. Your business's goal is always to help the user hit the target. What that means is to finish a particular job, to accomplish a goal, to realize a vision. So keep that in mind. And that is the basic essence of your business model, which we're going to be talking about. So before we talk about a business model, it's very important to understand in which context your business is operating under. So business context, what does that mean? So there are many different aspects of business context. It's always good to realize that you are not just operating in a siloed environment, in a vacuum. You are influenced and are influencing by different business context elements. And here are some of this as I'll be talking through them. So the first one is, which a lot of you are familiar with, technology. So a lot of technology we are being bombarded with today, we are using it. So think about not just within the next 1 to 3 years, but within the next 3 to 5 years as well. How are different technologies going to evolve? It's very hard to understand and anticipate, but I think it's just the fact that you start thinking about what technologies you have at your disposal today within the next 1 to 2 years and beyond. I think that's going to help you put yourself in the right frame of mind. And also, when you think about all this, you'll be able to better articulate your elevator pitch, which I'll be talking about towards the end of today's session. The second aspect is business model. We all hear about Amazon's digital platform, Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, examples of peer-to-peer. We have many examples of online retailing. We have different examples of cross-industry. The other part is customer experience. If you remember, there are 4 ways you can provide value. It's better, faster, cheaper, and easier. So customer experience, it could also be a mechanism of competitive differentiation. We also talked about as a service business model. Also think about digitalization of physical products. And also there are other business models which are more data driven. So if you are sitting on, if you have access to tons of data, or even if the data is available online, you can craft a business model by providing better insights to the particular user segment. So think from the business model perspective, whether it's going to be any one of them or a combination of some of these business models. The next aspect is the competitive. Now, I want to highlight over here is it is not just the solutions that are currently in the market, which are your competition. It is how the users do the job or hit the target today. Now, depending on how you define that target, whether it's a very narrow job or a goal or a vision, the definition might change. So let me ask you one question. A lot of us are using Netflix. So just in the chat bot, in the message box, why don't you write down who do you think are Netflix's competitors? So spend a few seconds and write down who do you think are Netflix's competitors. And let me try to, okay, look at chat over here quickly. YouTube, okay, Hulu, comments, HBO Max, a walk outside. Here it is. I really love it. I know a lot of you just went to to the very traditional ones, which is essentially other online platforms. But let me just give you another perspective. You're all right over here, and try to share my notes over here as well quickly. Netflix is in the business of capturing users' time. So if you think from it, so a lot of games, online games, offline games, sports, anywhere the user is spending time, that is Netflix's competitors. Books, Kindle, physical books. The time you're spending in reading the books, you're not spending watching Netflix, right? Learning, meditation, work. Now, if you had just defined Netflix as the media platform which is providing entertainment content, then obviously Hulu, YouTube, TikTok, and all those are there. But if you think about Netflix is trying to grab users' time, then even Facebook is Netflix's competitor. Think about it. So always, when you are thinking about your customer and your user and your competition, think about how they are. How do you want to define that problem? The other aspect to look at in the business context is industry. How does the industry solve the problem today? The other part is also do not just confine your thinking to your own industry, but think about how players in other industries could solve the same problem. So can you share in the chat board some examples of industry disruptions where a player who was not from the same industry actually came in and disrupted that industry? Anyone wants to share? Okay, Tesla, Uber, iPhone. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're all right. I mean, sharp individuals. I mean, this is great. I think if we, and I don't need to stress it again, but it was not the existing automotive companies who disrupted that industry. It was a technology company from Palo Alto, Tesla, which disrupted automotive industry. If you look at Apple computers 25 years back, it was in personal computing. But then only computers, but then they moved into mobile industry. They disrupted the music industry. They disrupted the entertainment industry. It was not the existing retailers like Macy's, Walmart's, and others which disrupted their model. It was a technology company from Seattle called Amazon which disrupted their model, right? So always think about whatever your idea is, whether you can transform another industry or somebody from left field could come in and disrupt wherever you are trying to play. So thinking about it just gives you some ideas of that. In addition, you also should think about macroeconomic indicators, neighborhoods. Depending on your solution, it could be neighborhood, community, city, county, country, but also political climate, environmental changes, economic situations, demographic trends. So for example, if you had a business plan in January, that business plan pretty much is out the window because of this COVID dynamics. Now, granted, probably nobody could anticipate that level of disruption, but there are other disruptions which are happening which we should keep an eye on. Behavioral expectations. Are you catering to millennials? Are you catering to boomers? Are you catering to Gen Zs? I think all of these segments and others have totally different behavioral expectations. So keeping that macroeconomic aspects in mind also helps you have a better resilient business model. The other part is anything else which could impact your business. I think regulatory is one aspect, but there could be many other aspects too. So with that, I think this was essentially before you start thinking about how you're going to price your solution, how you're going to offer it, think about the overall context within the short term as well as long term. Depending on the business you are in, it could be 1 to 3 years, but then also think about beyond 3 years, how these different dimensions are going to impact your business. So starting from the external. I've also seen that I think business context could be thought of after you have kind of talked about value proposition, but I think in my opinion, thinking about holistically also adds a lot of value. This is an example of a company which was trying to do business context for employee productivity solution. So this is a capture of their business model, their business context map over here that I've mentioned over here. So quick poll. So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing right now and then launch a business context poll. And I want you guys to respond to that poll. So, okay. All right, launch poll. So you should see on your screen several statements. What I want you to do is spend 30 seconds and select all these statements which you think are true. So the first one is business context helps in having a broader context in which your business operates. To understand, so select whichever ones you can select more than one. Whichever one you think is true, just select it. Business model context, to understand competition, look only in the industry you are operating under. To understand competition holistically, think of how user is doing the job today. Just focus on how the context will impact your plan in the next 12 months. Think through how technology will evolve beyond the next 3 years is wasteful. Fixating on the pay-per-use model is the right way to go. Political climate could easily be ignored for your business. There's some typo over here, but yeah, spend next 30 seconds and then select all the ones which you think are true. All right, I'll give you a few more seconds. Okay, 5 more seconds before you wrap up your thoughts. Okay, 2 more seconds. All right, so I'm ending the poll now. Okay, I think some folks are still entering, so I'll give you like 5 more seconds. Okay. All right, let me end the poll now and share the results. So as you can see, about 90% of you think that business context helps in having a broader context. Absolutely, I think this is true. To understand competition, look only in the industry you are operating under. Actually, that's not true. You have to look at beyond your industry as well. To understand competition holistically, think of how the user is doing the job today. Absolutely, I think this is true. And also at the other, there is a caveat as well. A lot of times what happens is that user might be doing the job today, but there is a better way of doing the job, and which might be out there, but that competition is the users are not fully aware of, but you can get inspiration from them. Just focus on how the context will impact your plan in the next 12 months. Well, this was a tricky one because you want to focus on the next 12 months. That's important. But I think also keep an eye on what will happen after 12 months. Are there any trends that would impact your business model beyond 12 months as well? So always keeping that long-term vision is also very important. But yeah, this was a tricky one. Think through how technology will evolve beyond the next 3 years is wasteful. Well, actually, it's not wasteful. A lot of times we have seen that you bank on a particular technology, and then that technology kind of is overtaken by a better one, and then your architecture was based on that previous one, and then you become a little you have to re-architect. That adds a lot of cost and time. So always thinking about a little bit longer term is important. And also there are other technologies like 5G is coming in. So if you are something, if you have some idea of a location-based, you have to think about 5G and IoT because in the next 2 to 3 years, that's going to hit. So if you build a solution without considering 5G and it is focusing on that aspect, I think you will be a little bit challenged going forward. Fixating on the pay-per-use model is the right way. Well, there is no right way or wrong way over here. I mean, it really depends on what problem you're trying to solve. So that was not the true one. And political climate could easily be ignored. I guess not. It's great that nobody checked that because political climate actually impacts your business quite heavily a lot of times. Even if you look at the recent tweets and the tussle between our president and the social media companies. So political climate is definitely impacting a lot of technology companies now. So great. I think I just wanted to get a feel for how folks are getting the message. So great that you guys pretty much got a lot of them right. The second aspect is value proposition. Step 14, which is in our stage, the second step. With the overall business context, value proposition is probably the most important aspects in crafting a business. As I mentioned earlier on, I'm going to reiterate it over here. The core of value proposition is how you help the user hit the target, how you help the user finish the job, accomplish a goal, or realize a vision in a better, cheaper, faster, or easier manner. Better means quality advantage. So how does your solution help the user hit the target more accurately and consistently? This is about the quality of the product, the reliability, and so on and so forth. Can you design your business model? And also, while we are talking about it, obviously I have a lot of product ideas in mind, but think of Rahil's idea of a success coach. So how can Rahil also think about it, because you can provide him feedback afterwards too, provide a better quality advantage. The second one is, which is a lot true in discount retailers, is the cost advantage, being cheaper. Now, how does your solution help? If the user is doing a certain job and you are helping the user do the same job, but costing him or her less cost, they're going to go for you, right? The caveat is that cost advantage is not a sustainable advantage. It becomes very difficult. Now, in business, over the last 30 years, what happened with a lot of manufacturing moved to location in China and other low-cost countries, so that they were able to provide the same product or similar product at a lower cost. Obviously, you need to do that. You need to cut your cost. But if you are just banking your value proposition on cost advantage, your competition is going to catch up, and within a very short amount of time, they will also be able to provide the customer compatible product at a compatible cost or even lower cost. So out of all these four, if I were to deprioritize anyone, it is this one. The second one is faster, efficiency advantage. So how does the user help? How do your solution help the user hit the target, as many targets as possible in a short amount of time? So I think this is essentially bringing efficiency, letting the user do the same job much faster. Obviously, it has implications on cost too, but I think the focus is very different. A lot of automation technologies are coming in which help the user do their business processes faster. I think that's where they are focusing on. And then the final one, which is perhaps the most recent one, is the experience advantage. I think before the advent of iPhone in 2007, the concept of having a competitive advantage on experience was unheard of. And here comes Apple with a brilliant iPhone, which had 50% less features with then existing smartphones, but still, because the experience was so amazing, that they were able to charge even double the price of their competition. So always think of experience advantage as one of the key points. And if you can achieve that, and that requires user centricity, amazing design, and I think that you can really earn a lot of. I shared in the first session how customers are paying more for better experience, how customers are being more forgiving to businesses if they get better experience, how customers are living with less features by having better experience. So experience advantage is really important these days. So again, to reiterate, your value proposition is about the value to the user, how you help your user hit the target in a better, cheaper, faster, and easier manner. All right, this is an example. And again, here, what I wanted to share is when you are brainstorming, just draw these circles on a chart. And then
I think your slides are not, you're not sharing your slides.
Oh, am I not? Okay, sorry, let me try again.
I think the previous slide also, the attendees couldn't see that as well.
Okay, let me try again. I don't know what happened here. Apologies for that. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, let me go back to the previous slide. Okay, so this is the one that I was talking over. I hope you can see it now. Again, value proposition is about user, how your solution helps the user hit the target in a better, cheaper, faster, and easier manner. This is an example of how you do that. Now, again, this is just a suggestion from facilitation perspective. If you are talking about helping the user hit the target, so write down a job in one post-it. So use sticky notes and then goals and then vision in different sticky notes. And now have the team brainstorm on the value proposition and be very honest about it. Put yourself into the user's shoes so that you can start getting some ideas, because these ideas you will start when you are articulating your value proposition, as you will see in a very short while. Your vision will, your value proposition and your elevator pitch will not be just focusing on specific jobs. It will paint a larger vision picture. And that's what's very important for investors as well to hear. Okay, so quick poll. So let me unshare and then start a poll over here. Okay, let me start the poll on value proposition. So you should see on your screen the new poll. So which of the following statements are true? Select as many as you think are true. Value proposition is about how will your business make money. Value proposition is focused on what job the user is looking to finish. Vision for user is qualitative and aspirational. You create value for user by helping him or her do the job better or easier. You should always look to have cost advantage. Experience advantage has emerged in the recent years as a viable value proposition. So yeah, spend 30 seconds and select the ones which you think are true. All right, I'll give you 15 more seconds. Okay. 10 more seconds. 5 more seconds. Okay, so in 2 seconds, I'll be ending the poll now and sharing the results. All right, here you go, and share the results. So as you can see from the results, which of the following are true? So value proposition is about how will your business make money? Actually, it is not. This was a tricky one. This part will come right after this session, right after this step. It's about how the second one is how you focus on how the job the user is looking to finish. So value proposition is about value to the user, not how you make the money. The second one is right, true. Value proposition is focused on what job the user is looking to finish. Vision for user is qualitative and aspirational, absolutely. I think this is something which is, you cannot really put a number on it, but it really touches the user at the emotional level. You create value for user by helping him or her do the job better, easier. Yes, absolutely. I think there are two others, which are cheaper or faster. So yeah, absolutely. You should always look to have cost advantage. Well, I don't think that you should always look to have cost advantage. If I were to create a business, I would probably not look to have cost advantage because that is not very sustainable. My suggestion would be to look at either quality, efficiency, or experience advantage. And I think from the multiple perspective, you can charge more for a better experience. And then finally, experience advantage has emerged in recent years as a viable value proposition. Absolutely. I think we have seen time and again, better experience can help you charge more from your customers too. All right, so let me, can you still see my screen? Just wanted to make sure. Let me close this. Okay. All right. The next step is your business model. So I think, as you can see, even though we are crafting a business, this is now that I'm talking about business model. The first part is looking at your business from the broader context. The second step is essentially focusing on the value proposition. And the third one is now focusing on business model. So the core of the business model that I'm introducing, and this is documented in detail in my book as well, is value. So what we have focused on how we will be delivering value to the customer, right? So again, understanding the needs from the user perspective is very important, as we have been stressing all along. But then think about how would the user actually know whether you have something of value to them? How will you deliver? What are the, how would the user actually know about your existence? Think about the channels. These could be relationships, especially in Rahil's case. I think it's the business relationship that he have built over the last 15 years. That would really help him. And also he can leverage online channels. You must, using your Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, you must have seen a lot of advertisements from new companies providing new products based on your relationship, based on your past behaviors. They provide you relevant and sometimes not relevant insights. So think about all that. How will the user know about the existing of the solution and your existence so that you are delivering a value to them? The second part is, which is more important probably, is value creation. How will you create the value? What are the resources that are required? What are activities you need to perform? If it's a technology product, then what is it? If it's for success coaches, if you are building some intellectual property, what exactly are you trying to do, right? So how would you create all those things? And I think it's becoming easier and easier for technology companies now to quickly instantiate a server on AWS or Azure or Google Cloud Platform and start prototyping some technical solutions. So think about creation and long-term sustainability of that architecture and how would you deliver it. And then the third aspect, which is often missed, is partnering. Today, in these days, I have not really come across any company which does not partner with any other supplier or partners so that they can complete this picture, this journey from value creation to value delivery. You have to partner. It could be a partner in channels. It could be, you can consider Facebook as your partner too, right? When you are advertising on that platform, you can consider AWS or Azure as your and Google Cloud Platform as your partner when you are building a solution. You can consider SAP Cloud Platform as your partner because perhaps your business is you're delivering something on the enterprise for enterprise customers. And essentially by building on certain platform, you get access to their ecosystem as well. So think about, it's not just about building a nice, cool looking app. It's how will the user know about your app out of the millions of apps which are on App Store? It's not easy, but do you need to partner with some social media advertising companies, right, who are really excelling at targeting your market? It's a whole kind of expertise that you need to think about. What are the partners and suppliers that you need to do? So that is the main part in which how you create the value, how you deliver the value, and what partnerships you need to build in this journey. And then the bottom portion is also very important, is how would you capture value for us? So the top portion was about value for your customers. How would you create and deliver and partner? But then value creation a lot of times is easier. Value delivery is hard. But even harder is value capture. One thing is, from my experience and seeing is, a lot of times it's not difficult to identify the pain point from the user, from the customer, and it's not difficult to convey the value proposition. What is difficult is asking the customers to open up their wallets, because that's your revenue stream. And that's where I think a lot of pay-per-use subscription, why would the customer subscribe to your service or pay for your service that you're offering, right? Think about it. So they have to not just realize that it's a value for them, but and that's where it helps in touching their emotional aspect, in their aspirational aspect, but also quantifying the results is also important. And then finally, it all requires resources, and resources cost money. So how would you fund it? Do you have enough savings that you are willing to apply towards it? Do you want to have some seed funding? So that's a whole different ball game, which I will have some resources at the end of the presentation today, which will help you with one of the great Silicon Valley innovators who has written extensively as well, and who has talked about how you can fund your business. So again, your business model is focused on value to your end user, how you're helping them hit the target in a better, faster, cheaper, easier way. How would you create that value and deliver to the customer? And what other partners you need to partner with before you are able to accomplish that. And then how would you capture value for yourself? And then how would you fund the value, the whole cycle? How would you fund it? right? So this is kind of a template that you can use. Think of resources, people, and assets that are required throughout this. And the reason why I designed the business model as circular, because this is not a sequential thing. As you go from creation to delivery to partnership, you start thinking about capturing and funding. These are all interlinked, and you have to go through them. You have to think about processes, activities. You have to, at the beginning, you do have very stretched in your resources. So don't waste your energy in doing accounting as well, doing marketing as well, doing all the R&D and everything else. If your capabilities around R&D, focus on that, and then partner on marketing and accounting and others on some online services, right? So that's where the partnership comes in. That will also help you in managing your customer relationships, invoicing, and all those kind of things, which is tied to the capture part. So think about that. And also, technology is part and parcel. There are great solutions out there for all of these. You have to find out what the business problem you're trying to solve. And that's where the value proposition is. So again, just to summarize over here, at the core of your business model is how you are helping the user hit the target in a better, faster, cheaper, and easier manner. That's your value proposition map. That's what I call value proposition map. You have to be very honest about it, and it has to be grounded in empathy with the user. This is all essentially feeds into, that's the core. And then you start looking at how will you create that value, how will you deliver it, how would you capture it, how would you partner with which partners to do this, and how would you fund this initiative, right? And then finally, looking at the broader context always helps you really have an understanding of where you are, where you're playing, and how would the context evolve, and what can you do about it, right? So that's the kind of a capture of the crafting the business. This is the business model framework that you're welcome to use. With that, I want to open up another poll to see how much you got what I was trying to say over here. So let me start the polling for business model. This is the last poll for today. So you should see the several statements on your screen right now. Select all which you think are true. At the core of the business model is value. Value proposition is helping user hit the target better, faster, cheaper, or easier. Technology considerations are only for the value creation dimension of business model. Value partnering is important to stay focused on your core competencies. Business model is influenced by the surrounding context and environment. Once you have evaluated business context, you should just focus on execution. If customer sees value in the offering, she will be willing to pay for it as well. All right, so spend 30 seconds and check all those which you think are true. All right, 15 more seconds. Okay, 10 more seconds. I see more people are responding, so I'll give you more time a little bit. Okay, 5 more seconds. Okay, so I'm about to end the poll now. Thank you very much for your responses. Let me share the results. As you can see, the first statement, at the core of the business model is value. Absolutely. I think this can't be stressed enough. Value proposition is helping the user hit the target better, faster, cheaper, easier. Absolutely. All of you got right. Awesome. Technology considerations are only for the value creation dimension of business model. Actually, this is not true. This technology plays in the entire business model, from creation, partnering, delivery, capture, and even funding. You could even think about crowdfunding for your business, right? So that's technology. Value partnering is important to stay focused on your core competency. Absolutely right. I think you have to be very judicious in who you partner with and for what reason, so that you can keep focusing on your core competencies. Business model is influenced by the surrounding context environment. Absolutely. So this is true. Once you have evaluated business context, you should focus on execution. Well, yeah, you should focus on execution, but keep an eye on the context as you go through the journey, because the context could change pretty quickly, as we are seeing in this year has been full of changing context. So I think keeping an eye on that is very important. And then finally, if customer sees value in the offering, she will be willing to pay for it as well. That's a tricky one. Now, a lot of you think that that's true. The thing is, it's actually easier to convey the value proposition, but then it's harder, and it's certainly a lot harder for customers to open up their wallets. So value proposition, conveying value proposition, helping the user understand the value proposition is very important, but that does not necessarily mean that they will be willing to pay as well. So I think you have to, but that's the best shot you have. But you always keep in mind that it's not just creating a great value proposition and the customer understanding it's whether they are willing to pay for it or not. That's another ball game. So you have to be very careful. But thank you very much. That was a tricky question. I purposefully ended over there. So great. So let me just close it and start sharing again here. Okay, finally, I think this is the final step for this stage, elevator pitch. So now you have gone through in this stage one to understand their problem. You have nailed what the emotional needs for the users are. You have gone through the second stage, which is devising solution. You have done many prototypes, evolved those prototypes into a solution. You have looked at the business model from core value proposition, but also from how will you build it, how will you deliver it, how will you partner, and how will you capture the value, right? And also you have explored the business context. Now the time comes that how will you, in a very easy way, communicate to potential investors or even customers or even some other stakeholders. And that's where the concept of elevator pitch has been around for a while now, comes in. So I think this is something there is many of the perspectives out there, but I'll just, I have two versions in my book. One is a very succinct version, smaller version, and then the longer one. I'll be sharing both of them right now over here. So essentially it goes like this: for customer or customer segment, our business provides a solution to fulfill a customer's needs, right? What are those needs? Highlight those needs. Currently, identify the competitive alternatives, how the customer is solving that problem today. Can you see my screen?
No, we can't see your slides.
Okay, I think there's some technical issues happening. Let me unshare and share again.
So after the polls.
Okay, after the polls, I have to kind of share again, I guess. Okay, so let me start again. So for customer, and I'll give you example as well so that it becomes concrete. Our business provides a solution to fulfill a couple of customer needs. What are those key needs that your research has uncovered? Currently, whatever the competition, how the customers are fulfilling those needs, and why is your solution better, right? And then the important part, which a lot of the elevator pitch templates miss, is without that solution, what will be the impact of the customers, right? So let's take one example. And this example is essentially from the work that I did with around this busy for home cooked meal platform for busy professionals. So it's here, there were like two stakeholders, busy professionals and stay-home moms. So for busy professionals and stay-home moms, Home Meals provides, this was kind of a fictitious name that I gave, is a mobile social platform to help stay-home moms of various ethnic and cultural backgrounds to sell home-cooked meals from their home, as they have the best recipes for ethnic meals which they love to share with others. Currently, stay-home moms use social media platforms to advertise their offerings, which lacks tailored experience for their purpose and limited reach. And the only option for busy professionals is to cook in the morning or bring food from previous night's dinner to work, which they don't have time and discipline for doing. Without home meals, stay-home moms will continue to feel neglected and busy professionals will continue to eat unhealthy, expensive meals at restaurants. So this is kind of an example. Let me just go to a more detailed version as well, and I'll just skip through the template, which you can see later on, but I'll walk you through an example. So again, the first portion of the examples is the same thing. For busy professional and stay-home moms, Home Meals provides social media platform, so on and so forth. We've just covered this, but then I've added the second and third part. The total addressable market in the USA is $12 billion and reach potential for about 30 million stay-home moms and 50 million working professionals. Now, these numbers obviously I've not gone through in details. How would you size the market, etc.? That's a whole different ballgame. But I think investors are looking for what is the scale that this solution. So I think that really adds value. And again, now the next part is very important. We will focus on San Francisco Bay Area and Los Angeles first, and reach the customer through social media advertising and ethnic grocery stores. A lot of these moms shop at ethnic grocery stores from India, Chinese, and Vietnamese and other stores, and expect to grow to 1 million users within 3 years. Now, a lot of these things, I personally feel a little challenged with future projections, but I think it's always from the investor perspective, it gives them an idea that these guys have thought about how they're going to grow. Our business model is based on, now you talk about per transaction cut through platform. How are you going to make money? So capturing the revenue part. Now, the last part is very important over here is, and which is probably the most important part after the first portion, the value proposition pitch, is our unique selling proposition includes understanding of the ethnic food market and first mover advantage. Well, that may not be advantage, but we can highlight that. We have a strong team that includes home chefs, a superstar online platform development expert, a social media advertising expert. So again, introducing your team. Why is your team so important? Finally, our beta or prototype has been available for more than 6 months in the South Bay region of San Francisco and used by more than 500 professionals and 75 stay-home moms. We have already made $50,000 by serving up to 15,000 home-cooked meals and are growing at a rate of 20% every year. We are looking for investment. So again, this part show more often than not, these days, investors are not just investing in an idea. They want to see some proof. And again, the importance of prototyping. Have you actually shared the first version with the users and who have been using it? Even if you have, if you have made some money, that's even cherry on the top. But if you have some usage that you can show some traction, I think that's where you can get a lot of money. And again, this is the rest of the part is essentially the Shark Tank part, that how much money you're trying to raise, the value funding part, and for what stake, and what will you use that money for? That's very important. And then finally, you're not just looking for investors for their money, but if you want to make sure that they're aligned with your mindset as well, which includes you're looking for investors who are passionate about social platforms, peer-to-peer sharing, and love home-cooked ethnic meals. So I think that really adds to the touch. So again, this was the longer one. I crammed it all in a very short amount of time, but this is it. So again, we have come to the conclusion. I think I've already gone over, so I'll probably wrap up quickly before opening up for Q&A. But again, at the end of each stage, if you who attended the previous sessions, you have made a lot of assumptions in your business model as well. So it's very important to think of all those assumptions, whether they're minor, they're major, or critical. And I will be in the next session, I'll be going through how to evaluate those assumptions. But at this point, as you are creating the business model, think of what are the assumptions which are minor, major, and critical in your business. So again, just to recap, over the last 3 sessions, we have covered the stage 1, which is understand problem, stage 2, which is device solution, and today we covered stage 3, which is crafting the business. We walked through value proposition, business context, business model, and elevator pitch in a very short amount of time. I apologize, I have to go through quickly, but what I want to do is before we open up the Q&A, I am sending this message to all of you. So let me send to all of them. Click on this link or copy paste this link in your browser and spend 2 minutes to provide feedback for today's session. I think that always helps me understand what is resonating, what is not resonating, and how can I improve future sessions. So I'll give you 2 minutes. Every one of you, please click on this link or copy paste if you are unable to click it. You should be able to see this screen here. Let me make sure that the link is correct. You should be able to see this form over here. Feel free to just spend 2 minutes, provide your feedback, and in the meantime, we can open up for Q&A. So, all right. So let me see over here. How can I do this? So Farhan, can we, I don't know, open the lines for any questions?
So if there are any questions, please, in the chat window, you can raise your hand and I'll open up your lines, or you can type a question in the Q&A window and we'll take the questions from there. So far, Masood, we don't have any questions in the Q&A window. We had 2 questions come up, which our audience wanted to know how they can get a copy of the recording. So the recording is actually available on our YouTube channel. We have created a folder under named Design Thinking. You can go on the Open Silicon Valley YouTube channel, and all of Masood's this session will be available there, and all prior sessions are also available on the Open Silicon Valley YouTube channel. So please feel free to have a look at that. And we have a question come up: how to approach assumptions, minor, major, and critical?
Yeah, so we will be covering that in the last session, which is next Saturday. So Rahil, just wait for that, and I'll be going through in more detail in the last session.
Okay. We have there's a question from Ashok. Ashok, can you unmute your line and please go ahead and ask the question?
Ashok, do I need to unmute? Allowed to talk. Okay, Ashok, you should be able to speak now.
Yes. Hey. So can we use a business model canvas, and instead of just putting in the text, we can show it in a single page? Can you use that option?
Absolutely. Business model. I mean, there are many frameworks. Business model canvas, I've used that many times as well. I think the only reason why I kind of I felt the need to create the value focused, human-centered business model that I have introduced over here is business model canvas is nice, but it gives a kind of a siloed thinking. If you look at the 9 boxes in that, you get the feeling that you focus on each of those boxes in isolation. What my experience is that I think none of those boxes should be looked at in isolation. They all impact each other. So that's why I created this framework around a circular thing that you have to go back and forth between different aspects. But yeah, any model is fine. It's been I've used it many times. I have seen in the market being used. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Feel free to, those who have not yet provided the feedback, please go to this link and then provide the feed forward. That would be very important. Thank you.
Should we have another question from Hanif? And since you are control of the master panel, so only you can unmute them. I can't do that.
Who should I unmute?
Hanif.
Hanif. Okay, let me see.
Hanif.
I'm trying to look for the name. Sorry about that.
Or
okay, allowed to talk. Okay, Hanif, you should be able to speak now.
Yes, thank you, Masood. So my question is about going back to, you mentioned that you were going to talk about some advice from an investor how to fund, right? Was it going to be in this session or is it next session?
Yes. Okay. So I think that's a good point. So okay, let me. Can you see my screen, by the way? Let me start sharing.
Yes. Oh, we can't see the screen yet.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. All right. So once again, a reminder for those who have not yet provided the feed forward, please do so quickly. I think that'll be great. And again, just to wrap up today's session, if you have any elevator pitch of any concept for next week, feel free to email me by Friday, California time, noon, and I'll be happy to go through that and include that in the next session. So that's one kind of homework for all of you. We kind of covered all the key top, the three stages of transformation. One is understand problem, devise solution, and craft business. And then next session, which will be the last one, we will be covering the fourth stage, which is manage risk. That's where we're going to go through how to tackle assumptions, minor, major, or critical. And I also kind of will kind of have more interactive discussions. Now, here is the useful resource. I promise that I'll be sharing. So Naeem Zafar is a great mentor over here. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's done 6 or 7 successful startups. And he's a professor at Berkeley and Brown as well. So he is a prolific writer and great mentor. Go to his website, and any of these books would really help you in your endeavor. Financial essentials as well, get funded. I think that would be probably you're referring to. So yeah, go ahead and check out his work. He was gracious enough to write the foreword for my book as well. Amazing individual. I've learned so much from him. So yeah, this is a resource which will help you. There are tons of other solutions. I think Open also from time to time host a lot of the Pakistani entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, successful ones who have gone through the entire cycle multiple times. So feel free to look at the archives, and Farhan should be able to tell you more about and check the website for past events and coming future events. And they will be focusing on funding part and all the other part. Okay, so with that, this concludes today's session. Once again, a reminder, if you haven't provided the feed forward, please do so right away. And if you have any final questions, I really appreciated all your engagement today and your questions. So any final thoughts, questions, comments?
Yeah, and Mashood, I wanted to add here that so Open Silicon Valley from time to time does do a lot of workshops around entrepreneurship, funding, business plans. What we do always encourage our members and all those interested to please email us and let us know what is it that you would like to hear from us the next time. So if you want to have a funding workshop, we will find the appropriate resources and tailor that workshop for our audience. So if you would like to learn something new, or if you feel that there is a need for a specific topic, please email us at opensv@gmail.com. So it's a pretty easy, straightforward email address. And if okay, Mashood, can you make me the host so I can just share my screen?
Of course, of course. Let me see how I can do that. Okay, you should be able to do that now.
Sure. Thank you. So Mashood, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so you can go ahead and email us at opensv@gmail.com, and we will reach out to the appropriate resources, Hanif, and we will try to put together a workshop just for funding purposes. And then for our audience know-how, if you can go on to Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, and just subscribe to our channels. And we usually announce through these particular channels what our next workshops are going to be. And, it gives you the opportunity to sign up for those workshops firsthand. And then other than that, we do have a weekly newsletter that comes out that outlines different workshops. We just started up a new initiative around jobs for those who have been laid off in the Bay Area. We are starting up a new initiative, advertising jobs and encouraging most of the people who are in a hiring position to let us know so we can advertise those opportunities as well. So I would encourage everyone to please go ahead and like our channel on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And with that, any last minute questions, please feel free to raise your hand and Mashood can answer those questions. Otherwise, we will conclude our session.
Okay. Well, with that, thank you very much. It was great. I'll see you for the final session next Saturday.
Thank you, Mashood. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And you'll get a follow-up email with this link to this session and a sign-up link to the next session. And that will be the final session, the 5th session of Mashood's workshop series. Mashood, thank you so much for hosting these. I can tell you personally, and that this has been a great experience for me. And I think most of our attendees can also attest to the fact that they very much enjoyed and learned a lot from these as well.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. And I think it's more, I mean, I really enjoyed the interactivity and comments and the responses to polls. I think this interactivity makes it much more engaging. I generally do these in person, which are very extremely immersive experiences. And at the end of a few hours or a day, you are mentally exhausted with ideas and others. But I'm trying to make the best out of this online channel. So thank you very much for being an active participant. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mashood. Bye now.